go to Spreaker, hit the go live, and then hit the intro. Alright, so the intro's playing. Hopefully it's playing on YouTube too, I don't know. Alright, so we're live now from the from Rocky Patel Cigar Store. This is Jeremiah Creek. I almost said the old name.
First time.
Yeah.
First time. I'm Bill Burlington, and that is
Dave Haynes. And if you're listening on Spreaker, we're also trying. I think I have it set up properly that we are also broadcasting live to our Jeremiah Creek YouTube channel, of which we are up to a whopping total of 0 subscribers, because we just started and I haven't gotten to running it properly. Yeah, mash that bell down, hit the subscribe.
Subscribe, do the things.
Yeah.
What are you smoking?
What do I have? I think I have a Silent 13. I haven't had a Silent 13 in a while.
I'm smoking a Rocky Patel Disciple, and it is pretty dang good.
Decipher?
Disciple. Yeah.
You can smoke 12 of them a day.
Yeah. But one of them betrays.
The last one.
When I dip my ash in the ashtray, that is who will betray.
We could go right into the Jesus jokes. All right, we're going to hell.
We could.
Yeah.
I mean, we were already going to hell. So.
Did I tell you this? I don't know if I told you this last time we talked. It's been a couple weeks, so, let me just right away, since you brought the cigars right up to Jesus, let me do a segue here real quick. I recently got started watching Fox Nation. Have you heard of it? It's a channel. It's not a channel. It's what do you call them? A video app. Like Netflix and shit.
No idea.
All right, so mostly they do documentaries, and there's some religious shows. All right, I got it because they did a documentary on the Jussie Smollett thing.
You saying you're going to watch it.
Yeah, it was fantastic, by the way. 5-part documentary, funny as shit. Those guys who put on the hoax, they interviewed them at length, and they are funnier than shit. So it was really
surprising.
They got them to act it out. They took them down to Lower Wacker Drive and act out what they did, and plus, what these guys are, for somebody who deals with people who commit crimes and stuff. It's like you're watching these guys, and they have such charisma on TV that it's like there's one point where because these guys are bodybuilders, big bodybuilder guys, and the interview talks about the fact that at the trial, Jussie Smollett said that he was a spurned lover. He hit on him or something, and he got angry, and so this is why he did it, because he was gay and he hit on another guy who wasn't gay. Whatever the excuse was, they asked him about it, and this Ola, it was Ola and Bola are the two brothers' names, and Ola, it's an unpronounceable African name, right? Okay. But that's what their nicknames are, Ola and Bola, and so they ask him about it, and he starts laughing in the interview, and he goes, "Hey, look at me. Guys hit on me, girls hit on me, everybody hits on me. Well, it doesn't offend me when somebody hits on me. Why would I get offended?" And it's like you're sitting there. If anybody else had said it, it's such an arrogant fucking comment. But this guy said, and I started laughing, and I'm like, he came across as being so funny and engaging about it that it was like,
Very genuine.
yeah, it was genuine. Yeah, it was like regular people on TV, which was really, I guess, shows how strange our society is right now. But anyway, the reason I brought the Fox Nation up was because I started watching. It's just an extra. I started watching. Oh God, I can't remember the show, but it's a series. It's up to 2 seasons now about Jesus and the apostles, and I am losing track of my mind because I can't remember the title of the.
Is it called The Dirty Dozen?
No. But it's a very interesting show, and it's like, if you're Catholic, it's all the stories you grew up with, and they just sort of flesh out the stories of the Bible. But this guy who plays Jesus, I should have looked it up. If I would have known we were going to talk about this, I would have prepared more. But it's an interesting take because one of the things, when you grew up in religion class, all you're talking with the miracle of water and wine
Yeah.
at the wedding of Cana. One of the episodes was the whole wedding of Cana, and so that's why it's on my mind. You want to change, it's the miracle, and it was all very serious and glorious and whatever the fuck, because you're learning about it 2,000 years later.
Yeah.
What you don't think about is what everybody does at a wedding, especially when you're a kid learning this stuff because you haven't gone to many weddings. There's dancing, there's jokes, there's ball busting, and this guy plays. It's funny when you sit there and watch. These guys are wandering around Jerusalem or whatever for however long his ministry went on. They were living like brothers. There's a lot of ball busting going on, a lot of messing around with your buddies, and it's interesting to see Jesus in that sort of criteria where he
They
goes,
show them doing that?
yeah.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so it really fleshes it out where you're thinking, okay, the wedding at Cana, and they're spending 90% of the time, dancing around at like Hava Nagila and all this other shit, and talking about people making fun of the neighbors or the dishes that they're serving, or the mother and the father by worrying that people are going to like the food they serve. So I don't know, it was just very
I
interesting.
don't know what it was like when Jesus bust somebody's balls.
Yeah,
I mean, he probably did.
he did.
Yeah.
And it was like somebody talking about one of was it? It might have been Peter. I can't remember, who couldn't dance very well, and so it all of a sudden gets serious after he changes the water into wine, and it's all we'll follow you forever. And he goes, well, we got to deal with some serious matters first. Is it true that you can't dance? And it breaks the whole thing up.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so it was. I
I've
don't
seen
know.
anyone do that before.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting, and of course, if the miracle of turning the water into wine is true, you have to ask yourself, how did you get to a point where you had to turn water into wine at the wedding? Why didn't they have wine already? Well, they explained why they didn't have wine already. So
And
No.
their explanation was,
the wedding just went on too long, and they didn't bring enough wine. So the caterer. So
why is it fucking catered?
it's the caterer's fault. It's always the caterer's. All right. Anyway, but so Fox Nation has that show. It was pretty. I only got that thing to watch the Jussie Smollett thing, but and the Jussie Smollett thing, it really struck close to home because at the time that all happened, my son worked right down there at the St. Jane Hotel.
I remember.
He would normally be walking right past from the train station to the hotel, right past that at the exact same time it happened. If it hadn't been 26 degrees below zero, and I gave him a ride down there.
It was an especially cold night.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they picked a weird night.
But you think about it, if he had been walking by there, and now they got video. They had video of everybody who went down there. They tried to identify everybody who was down there, which was a lot easier because it was 26 below and nobody was out.
Yeah.
But what if they showed it to him and go, hey, oh yeah, that's the guy. He would have pointed anybody out at that point. That's the guy that did it. And of course, they did a good job. Anybody would have gotten off, but it would have been, your life would have been a living hell. All of a sudden, some random guy, or like my son, would have been a national story for something completely. And what do you?
For the rest of his life.
Yeah, everybody would look back at that. That's what really.
Think of the people that have become accidentally famous recently, and I say recently. Think about in the last 15 or 20 years. People that things like the Jussie Smollett case and some other stuff. The people that didn't want to be famous,
Right.
They're constantly revisited. YouTube channels want to talk to them. BuzzFeed wants to do a story, like they never get out of it. I would hate that. There's a documentary on YouTube called I was a meme, or I was an internet meme.
Oh yeah.
And it's all the people that you see, like the girl that the house on fire, and she's like this. You seen that meme? You've seen it? It's a little girl. She's just looking at the camera like, I did this.
Oh.
And behind her, there's a house on fire.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah, she's like super. I mean, she's the biggest meme in the world, and she's like, I did not want that. That was not what I wanted at all. And yeah, these people got to deal with that stuff. And yet we try to be famous. And
Yeah, we can't. We fail at it.
fail it so hard.
I saw I saw a thing the other day. Hold on a sec. I saw the thing the other day that was some kid who they took a video of him, and he's a chubby kid, and he runs up. He like tries to how in the video in the movies sometimes you see people who can run up to a wall and like take 2 steps. It's the Bo Jackson catch from the White Sox back in the 80s, where he goes running, he makes the catch, he hits the wall and like does two steps on the wall before he comes down. And so it's just some kid trying to do that. It looked like an idiot, which as a kid you do. And then so there's this 10-second video of this kid doing that, and then it smash cuts to the Jason Bourne movie where the one guy goes, "Jesus Christ, that's Jason Bourne," and I was hysterical laughing, and I'm like, "Oh, that poor kid."
Do you think that as we get older, we're easier to entertain?
Oh yeah, well.
My wife and I spent like 2 hours the other night. First, we started out watching funny pet videos, and I mean, dude, we like rabbit holed that. We were on it for a while, and then we were doing. There's all these quiz channels on YouTube. I didn't know about them.
Yeah.
Guess the '80s song. We were all in. Like for an hour and a half.
It's like not old game shows. You're talking about it's what? Quiz?
It's like a YouTube channel that people made recently, and so like one of them is guess the movie from the scene, right? And it would have a scene that's just a few seconds long, and you got to figure out what movie it is, or there would be a still picture, and you're like, who's the main actor here, or they play 3 seconds of a song, and you got to figure out what it is. And it was great. It was great because I'm good at trivia because I have a limited amount of useful knowledge, but even vast amount of useless knowledge. And I was absolutely trouncing my wife, and she was like, I need a handicap. But yeah, I think as we get older, we just get. I sometimes I just find I'm supposed to be working and I'm watching like Karen videos. And idiots in cars.
Oh yeah, I watch that. I watch those a lot. You know what? I'm getting to a point where when I get to work, usually there's like the rush to get ready and everything. I get to work, I have like half an hour, unless something's really going on. I have like a half an hour where I don't have to do anything. I could be doing something, but it's not something I can't do later. So I have like a half an hour where I can sort of decompress, drink my cup of coffee, and relax. And I've gotten into this habit of turning on these YouTube videos and watching idiots in cars. You know what? If you want to look at one that are good, People Are Awesome.
Oh yeah.
I love those. People Are Awesome.
My wife came in one day and I was sitting there and I was watching not Fail Army. It was called Win Army. And it's all these people doing incredible shit. Yeah. Right? And I was just like, holy crap, that's like...
Yeah.
It's a little inspiring.
It really is. It's like people, now I've seen in some of the videos that People Are Awesome, there are guys that are throwing CDs into, they're able to bounce a CD into a computer, slot. All right. That is stupid. Whenever I see it, I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. But how many fucking times does this guy sit there and do it till he got it right? So that's really stupid. But the other one is what is that where they make these long machines where you have like a ball rolling down and it does different things and it's a guy's name.
Yeah.
But those are fun and I showed one to my wife and I'm like, I wonder how long it took this guy to do this. And she goes, probably as long as it took his wife to get home from work and find out what the fuck he's been doing all day.
What are those things called?
But yeah, I like those videos. The People Are Awesome ones are really cool. You get a little strange when you start watching the People Are Awesome Girls Edition because that's... there's no nudity or anything, but might as well be. But what else? See, it's nice to have these good videos. It's not all just road rage gets what is it? Karma, instant karma, road rage.
Yeah.
Those are fun to watch occasionally, but it gets annoying after a while. You like it?
Now I'm thinking of a different thing, and that is how do you if you can't remember the name of something, how do you figure out
I don't know. If we had listeners, they could just type it in
Yeah.
to the chat.
If we had listeners.
If we had listeners, anyway. All right, so enough with that. Let's go to. I just got back from Tennessee.
And how is that?
It was, it taught me a little bit of something about myself, which. All right. Well, let me give you a little backstory. First of all, it was a very frustrating trip. I was out there for a week. Yes, I'm listening. So it was a week in Tennessee, and it started off bad because my boss was having a hard time letting me take the days off, which thankfully we worked out because we had already bought tickets for my son and his girlfriend to drive down to come down. My dad was flying down, so it was we were going to be having a full house. But here's the thing. One of my main things was I was going to bring my motorcycle back from Tennessee. I left my motorcycle down there over the winter,
Right.
which was a mistake.
It's the one that's outside right now?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was a mistake to leave it there all winter.
Oh.
The idea,
You are on a mountain and it does get cold.
well, yeah, but that wasn't it. My idea for bringing it down there was that if it was down there, the riding season is a little longer. I could have gone down there and rode my motorcycle in nice places. The problem is I only was able to make it down there one weekend this winter, and that was the weekend it snowed. So,
Yeah.
so we couldn't
But
do that.
wait. You did bring it back, but now it's the season for riding.
Right. So my idea last fall was that I would bring it down there, I would store it down there, so that if I could get time to go down there and ride around there, it would be there available. So we ended up trailering it down there. But I rented a trailer from U-Haul, which was a big steel trailer. The bike fit on it, no problem. But after about 8-9 hours, my car was struggling over the hills in Virginia to get it.
Yeah.
So we ended up dropping the trailer, taking the bike off, having U-Haul come pick up the trailer and I had to drive about an hour and a half on my bike to make it to the house, which worked out fine because we thankfully the Jeep has this thing on my car. The engine light pops on. Basically it slows the engine down because you're not pulling too much. And the minute we took the trailer off, it righted itself. It's some kind of setting, I guess.
Oh, that's probably good.
Yeah, it was very good. And so we got it down there. Well, the problem is that I didn't get down there to ride it enough, and the weather in Chicago was friggin'. I would have rode it all winter long. I'll ride that bike if there's no snow on the ground, even if it's cold.
Yeah, it was not a very difficult winter.
No, and so all winter long, I'm like, shit, I would go for a ride today, but it's down in Tennessee. So then we get down there. The idea was to bring it back this last time. I was going to take 2 days to drive back, and we got down there. I filled up the tires, which had gone a little flat over the winter, and they both burst because the dry rot had set it. Now, that wasn't because I left it in Tennessee. The tires were old. It just was the straw that broke the camel's back. But I was very upset. I actually had to get it towed. It cost me $225 just to get it towed because I had to tow it all the way down to Johnson City, and it cost $1,200 to replace the tires.
Get out. Why?
Because the only place they would do it was a dealer. The only way they could do it was to take the sidecar off and all the bags off to get to the back tire. The back tire was the expensive one. And their labor rates were dealer labor rates. And I was telling my wife, I was really pissed off about it, but I was telling my wife, I was like, you know what, I've had this bike now for 4 or 5 years. This is literally the first time I've had to get it fixed. So
Yeah, that's not bad.
I mean,
Still, though, you ain't spending money
Yeah.
like that. I know you got to. I had a completely, the only similarity is the money, right? But I had a guitar. I have a guitar. And, in COVID, our basement flooded, and I had to emergency move everything, and I shoved this guitar into a storage thing and forgot about it. And, 2022, I was like, I want to get my guitar, and I got it, and I was like, oh, it's in bad shape. So I took it down to a guitar fret shop, and they were going to do a setup on it. Found out the neck was broken, so I had to fix the neck. And I ended up, this guitar cost me $700 when I bought it in 2002. Right? It's a really good guitar.
Okay, I was going to ask. No.
It's a really good guitar. Electric guitar. It's sweet. It's just a really, really good. It's the one that Elvis Costello plays. It's fucking wonderful. It cost me $536 to get it fixed.
Wow.
Yeah, it was almost the entire cost of the guitar, and it's worth right now. If I hadn't had it fixed, it would be worth it's probably worth about $1,200. That I would be getting that money back. So
Yeah.
spent all that money, got it fixed. Haven't played it once. Haven't played it one time, man. What is a fucking point?
So we ended up getting it fixed. Now, okay, here's the thing. There's other frustrating things that went around. I had to get my car repaired, which turned out to be not a big deal. It needed some points and a spark plug, a little tune-up basically. But the engine light came on the day I was supposed to leave on the motorcycle. So I was going to leave and take 2 days to ride back, and then they were following the next day, driving all the way in one day.
That's your dad, your wife, and
Not my dad, he flew. It was my wife and my son and daughter and his girlfriend. And so okay, and plus my dad, unbeknownst to anybody, including him apparently, decided to change the days he was going to be there. So instead of Sunday through Thursday, it turns out it's cheaper to go Monday through Friday.
that's how you do it.
So, they changed the flight, didn't say anything.
Did he tell you Friday morning?
No, Sunday afternoon when I was getting ready to go pick him up at the airport. And I said, hey, what time is your plane land? Well, not till tomorrow. Thankfully, I hadn't left yet.
Reasons to Kill Your Father, number 187.
Yeah. Not that it mattered, except for the fact the only reason it really mattered was because the day he was leaving, the day was Friday. His flight was Friday morning. Well, I was supposed to leave Friday morning to drive back, and so I had to go drive him to the airport. Then on the way back, the car starts misfiring and the fucking engine light comes on. I get it to the repair place, which, by the way, the Exxon station in Mountain City, phenomenal. They got me. I told them what was going on. They got me in there. They checked it out, figured out what it was. Cost me $150. I was done in an hour. So I have to say that's
like a good mechanic.
Yeah, that's where it kind of started turning around, I thought. But, okay, here's what I learned, though. So there was other little frustrations I'm not going to go into, but the frustration started mounting. And so I was telling my wife at one point I was having trouble sleeping. And I said, here's the problem. Bringing this bike down here was a mistake in the fall. Now, I'm planning to drive it back, and it seems like things keep going wrong. And I'm starting to get it. I got it in my head that I'm like, well, wait a minute. Maybe then driving it back the way I had planned is a mistake. And
like the world's trying to tell you not.
Yeah, exactly. Like the things are piling up and going, maybe you should rethink your plans because, here we're throwing all these roadblocks. We're throwing all these obstacles. Maybe you should not go forward. So anyway, so I told her, and she's just like, no, it's fine. Well, shut up. And I was worried about, because I was worried about me riding the motorcycle back. What happens if it breaks down in the middle of friggin' Kentucky?
Yeah.
But I do have State Farm and I do have roadside. So the other thing was, they're going to be driving back. My wife and the kids are going to be driving back by themselves. What happens if something happens to them? If they break down, they
got Nate.
Yeah. So she was just like, it's fine. So I ended up, I had to go down to Mountain City because they had crossed the wire on the bike, or down to Johnson City. So I had to leave. I had to take my dad to the airport. Then I had to get the car fixed. Then I had to jump on my bike, drive 20 miles to Johnson City, wait for them to fix it, and then start heading back. That was like Friday. And so
What time Friday did you actually leave?
I actually left it was about 2 in the afternoon.
That's ridiculous.
Maybe a little later.
You're not even going to make the Louisville.
My hope was to make it to Louisville, and I didn't make it to Louisville because it was also raining the entire 6 hours in the rain. 6 hours in the rain on the bike. I made it to Lexington though, and that's where things started turning around because I got a nice hotel, and I'm like, I'm exhausted. I walk in there, and I'm like, hey, is there a place I can order a pizza? And the guy's like, yeah, here. So I ordered a pizza at this place. Fantastic pizza, Donato's in Lexington. The pizza was great. and perfect. I mean, super thin and So anyway, so I ordered a pizza. I went to sleep, and I got up the next morning, and it was sunny. It was chilly, but it was starting to get warm. And then I drove all the way back to Chicago and had a very nice ride on Saturday. Meanwhile, every time I would stop, I would check in with them. They were doing fine. We all made it back on Saturday, so everything worked. And then the next day, I woke up. I went out to put my bike in the garage, and it wouldn't start. But
Well, obviously, you got to start it.
yeah, that was not, I was actually able to fix it. Actually, I don't even know what was wrong with it. I just jumped the solenoid, and my thinking is that I would jump the solenoid and then take it over to the repair place, and he couldn't look at it till Monday or Tuesday. So I took it back and figured, well, if I need to start it, I'll just jump the solenoid. Now it's starting and running perfectly. I don't know what I did.
Where do you jump it from?
Well, I have one of those jumper boxes, but when I say jump the solenoid, all you do is take a screwdriver and connect the tops of the two things of the solenoid. Anybody who has a car back in the 70s, 70s and 80s, you could do this. You could.
I know what you're talking about.
It just sparks and
Yeah.
it starts up. Well,
Scary the first time.
it still works that way on a '97 Goldwing. So.
There you go.
Yeah, it is kind of, even now, even though I did it when I was a kid all the time when I was a teenager, because I had shitty cars. I never had a good car.
Same here.
And I did it all the time, but even then when the sparks flew, it was a little, I was like, whoa. But
I think it's good that when you're a kid you have shitty cars. It really helps you learn about how to deal with
yeah.
emergencies, man. How many cars did you own before you got married?
Oh, let's see. My first,
Your first bike.
my mom taught me how to ride a motorcycle when I was about 18. I can't remember if I had one when I was.
It's always been part of it.
Yeah. I might have had one in the Marine Corps. I can't remember either in the Marine Corps or right when I got out of the Marine Corps.
My family won't let me have a motorcycle.
Well,
Wisely.
yeah.
Wisely.
I mean, there's some people that shouldn't.
I'm just not built for it, man. I would, I'd be looking off on the side and I'd drive right off a cliff. That's what I would do. I thought about one of those scorpion things, though. Whatever they're called, spiders.
Oh yeah, with the two wheels in front.
Yeah, I think they're pretty cool. But,
Yeah.
I don't get the money for it.
So that was my trip to Tennessee.
Yeah.
And now I have my motorcycle. I can ride it. I don't know when I'm gonna be able to make it back. I got 4 months and 1 day left till I retire.
Yeah, I was thinking about it the other day, man. It's right up before you go. I'm going to be really busy. I'm going to be in Ireland in June. I'm going to be in.
Well, the president might still be there apparently.
Might still be there if the fucking Secret Service keeps putting diesel in their cars. And then I'm going to be in Florida in July, and I don't actually have an end date for that.
Why?
It's my uncle's 80th birthday, so they're having a surprise birthday party for him. I love this guy. And so I'm going down there for the surprise birthday party. But, I grew up in Florida. I got a ton of friends down there
All right.
that I haven't seen in a long time.
This might be a little ageist.
A little what?
A little ageist.
Okay.
I don't think a bunch of people jumping out and yelling surprise at an 80-year-old is a very good idea.
Yeah, it ain't going to be like that. It's not going to be. It's at a park on a lake.
Surprise! Oh!
And that's how we lost Uncle Dave. They're out. It's a park area, and my aunt's just going to pull up with him. We're all going to be there. It's like he'll survive, I hope. And but there's so many people in Florida that I know that I never get to see, and we talk all the time. I'm like that with my friends. I talk to my friends, talk with you all the time. I talk with my other friends all the time. And but I miss them, and and I have the kind of job where I can work from anywhere. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to go down there in July and stay probably a couple of weeks.
Well, when in July? Early or late?
The first week. I'm going to be there the first week of July, so I'll probably be there 2 weeks, and then I'm going to hit Alabama on the way back. So when are you leaving in August?
Well, we're still debating that. I don't know. I haven't.
I'll just drive to your place in Tennessee.
I was just thinking that. Yeah. It's actually, I don't know. I don't know if this would be interesting to anybody but me. But trying to decide when to retire is turning into be a big deal. First of all,
it's like planning a wedding.
Yeah, but it's like.
Party?
I'm thinking I'm gonna have something.
Thank you.
Julia wants to plan it. So
Yeah, man, have a fucking great party.
I was thinking. Okay, speaking of parties, all right. So let's start with the party thing. So police officers when they retire, they have retirement parties. Now, what I've noticed over the years, especially since I become a supervisor and a boss, is that these parties are getting to be a little nuts. The last retirement party I went to cost me $50 a person at Moretti's. I mean, basically, you don't want anybody to end up.
I don't think you should make people pay to go to your retirement.
Well, it is normal. The idea being you want to have a party, but you don't want anybody to be saddled with a bunch of costs right when they're retiring. So the idea is that you charge enough so that you break even, not that you're making money.
Right.
And but the parties have gotten to be at these fancy places and with open alcohol and stuff that they're getting to be $50. It's crazy, I thought. Especially because I paid for me, my wife, and a friend of ours. So at that point, I decided I want to have a party, but I want all the people I work with, and 90% of them are police officers, to come to it, not just other bosses, and not just family members who are going to feel obligated. So I want to have, like you just said, some kind of cookout or something, where if I have to charge anybody, since I don't drink, it'll be whatever the liquor costs.
Do it at the back place. At your clubhouse.
Yeah, that would be the easiest, but my wife says that most of the family and a lot of the north side people I work with won't go down to the west side.
Edgebrook Golf Country Club.
That would be
expensive.
Really?
Yep, it's not that expensive. There's plenty of parking. It's close to the Blue Line, or close to the Metro, and the only thing is you can't cook there, but you can cater it.
Well, actually, right now what I'm leaning towards is we have a pastor in the community who has a place called The Well, which helps police officers with mental health stuff. And they've got a building, and it's got a big parking lot, and so I'm like, hey, what about having a party? He goes, yeah, you can have a party here. And then I've been doing food reviews so much, I could probably get most of the food donated, and we could have a barbecue, and then then we had to buy whatever liquor, a few kegs and whatever.
Yeah.
And so then I might, if I could keep it under $10, even if I have to charge anything, I'd rather not charge anything.
Yeah.
But if I could charge people $10 to pay for the liquor, then
I'll donate a keg.
all right.
Yeah.
So I thought that would be the best. So that's right now what I'm looking towards. So I'll have my daughter plan it. But even leaving, on what day to leave and what day to have the party is questionable, because my plan originally had been to retire in July, and I have to stay a little longer because of some stuff. But and then CPS fucking started the school year early, so now my plan had been to retire in July, go on vacation for the first 2 weeks of August, and then have a retirement party late August. Third week of August, and then we got screwed by CPS. So now I have to retire a little later. So I was going to move my retirement date to August 15th, but that means I can't go to Tennessee, or at least I can't go with my family. They'll go down in the first 2 weeks of August. They'll be coming back by the time I'm ready to go. So I could, huh?
Why?
Well, because she's got to be back in time to get ready for school.
Oh, she's going to stay here and go to school? She's not going to Tennessee?
No, we're not for the last year of high school. We're staying in Chicago.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I thought you were moving.
No, we're not moving till next year. So it's
So I got to put up with you for how long?
another year. Yeah.
Jesus.
A year and 4 months.
That changes everything, Dave.
So anyway, so to get to the question of what day do you actually retire on? I can leave on the 1st of August, but your pension check doesn't come until the 1st of the month after you retire. So if I retire on August 15th, my first pension check will be October 1st. If I retire August 1st, my pension check won't be until October 1st. So it's better to leave 2 weeks later in the middle of the month.
You got savings, right?
Yeah, unless you can afford it. Or the other thing is that if I have enough time built up, I'll just I'll still get that last paycheck. I'll just work the last 2 weeks.
Oh, if everyone's paying $50 for retirement parties, why don't you keep yours down where the cost is like 10 and charge everyone 25? Make a little scratch right there.
Finance my first 2 weeks. So anyway, we're just trying to figure out. What I really got to figure out is my wife going to be prepared to spend the first 2 weeks of August in Tennessee? And if she is, I will figure out some way to leave on August 1st, which is actually then 3.5 months from now. But if she's not, then I'll stay till the 15th, and you know.
That's the kind of thing you just have me laying in bed all day. It's too much. I'm already stressed. It's not even my life.
Well, the thing is too is it's friggin' April, and I'm thinking about this stuff like almost every day. Yeah. I'm having to stop myself from going. There's no way she can plan this early. This is a June conversation, not an April conversation. And it's like every freaking day I'm stopping myself from having this discussion.
You just need to say that. Hey, this is a June conversation.
Yeah. So she just ignores me.
Well, I mean, that is what wives do. Not mine, no. My wife has taken a new interest. I've been trying to lose weight for a long time, since January. When we were down in Tennessee together, I was, on my little diet app and everything. And I just couldn't get there, right? And my wife was like, well, you're not weighing your food. And I'm like, the app knows everything. She goes, yeah, you got to weigh it. I'm like, whatever. She goes, let me cook for you. I'm like, okay, first of all, you're not a cook. Second of all, you have a job that you work like 10 hours, 12 hours a day. When are you going to do this? She goes, I'll make it work. And so she's been cooking for me, and goddamn, I've had lost 10 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, I have to hand it to her. Here's to my attorney for helping me lose weight. And it hasn't been hard. It's easy.
I do notice that when I am not working, I eat a lot better. When I was in Tennessee, it wasn't even something I tried to do.
Yeah.
It was just, first of all, I'm eating at normal times, which working midnights for as many years as I have is a change right off the bat. But I also, I was getting up and just going for a walk because, I don't know, just right. Actually, since I've been back, every day since just walk down the road, and
it's all hills.
Yeah. So
Jesus God, I would die.
But then I took when I got back, and I started this at the end of last year, but I when the winter came, but I'm trying to clean up my yard and get stuff planted and stuff. So I've been saying to myself, I'm gonna work out in the yard for like at least an hour, just so I can at least say that I did something.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing about it's also I'm trying to get myself in this routine where I'll start writing when I retire too. But
I highly recommend it.
And the idea where you sit down for at least an hour, so even if you're only writing crap,
you're going to write crap.
You're getting your mind in the.
I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and I was on a podcast, a guest on a podcast for a legal writing coach. She had me on as a guest because I read this article that got really popular about how to write a perfect article. That's what I do. And she had me on. And one of the things I was talking to her about, something I think about all the time and didn't realize other people never thought about, but that is that if you decide to be a writer, you need to understand that the first 100,000 words you write are going to suck.
Wow.
And until you do it enough, there's no way around it. They're just going to suck. You got to get over it. You got to write terrible stuff for 6 months to a year before you start getting good. Even if you're a person who's kind of a talented communicator, if you're not used to doing it, you're just not used to doing it, and you don't have flow. Flow is where the good stuff comes from. And until you develop flow, it's always going to feel, the reader's going to feel it. They're going to feel how difficult it was for you to write it. They're going to feel the exhaustion, and it's going to be there. You got to, and the only way to do that is what you just said. Have that regular time. You sit down, you blow it out.
Yeah.
It's the only thing you can do. It's the only choice you have. I said, you got to imagine there's this mountain. I used to teach this class about how to finish a book. I'd have a picture of this mountain of books. And I was like, you're here. And you have to, this is shit mountain. You have to write your way up shit mountain. And when you get to the top, you're not even going to know you're there. And suddenly, it's all going to be super easy all the time.
Yeah.
And at that point, writing's not going to be hard. It's going to be much easier.
I think that's the same with anything. I mean,
It is.
they say if you want to, if you want to be a good guitar player, you have to do it for 10,000 hours before you're good. Is that 10,000?
First of all, I've learned something about both the 10,000 hours rule and the 10,000 steps rule, and it is both of them bullshit. And that the 10,000 steps thing was an arbitrary number that somebody in Japan made up to sell a walker, to sell a pedometer. Made it up. There's no science behind it at all. Totally made that shit up.
That's like Dasani saying you have to drink 8,
Yeah.
or
Gee,
Ice Mountain.
They came up with that.
You have to drink 8 bottles of water a day. It says Ice Mountain.
Yeah, it says the people that make the water bottles. Conveniently, 8 of these. It's funny you're talking about that. My career's about to change big time because of Chat GPT.
Is it really?
Yep. It's fucking everything.
I mean, we talked about ChatGPT when we were both just screwing around with it for fun.
Yeah.
But because people are just going to use it cheap. I notice a lot of TikTok videos are using ChatGPT now.
Here's so the industry that I'm in, that I make my money in, is content marketing. And so what I do is I write articles for other people, and they pay me top dollar. I get good money for it. I'm like one of the guys up here that gets paid.
Yeah.
$250 bucks per article. It's good money. It's about all discipline. My clients that I have right now will continue to pay me because they know how good it is, and they're publishers. They know the difference.
Yeah.
But new people, no one's going to pay me because I'm starting to see advertisements for content companies that are selling a year of content for $50.
Jesus.
A year. And the reason they're doing that is they're going to use Chat GPT to write it. And it's going to do a fine job.
Yeah, basic job.
I'll tell you.
No style.
They're not going to know the difference.
The people buying it.
Yeah,
right.
I would have to educate them about it. And I just was, I was thinking a couple of months ago, my wife was like, look, there are going to be big layoffs at our company. And they were supposed to happen today. She did not get laid off, so that's good news. But up until today, it was a distinct possibility. And I was like, what would happen if, because I don't make a lot of money, and there's no security. And I was like, man, with this chat stuff, I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do? Like, my money's already down to nothing. I'm not making anything.
Yeah.
I can't sell shit. And so at first I was like, I'm going to move over to technical. There's a ton of money in it. I would be good at it. I just need to do a little education. No big deal. So I looked at that and I started realizing the certificates that I needed to get, I needed to have a bachelor's degree. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm halfway there. I wanted to just go back to school and finish that. I was not enthused about this at all.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those guys like, I can't wait to go back to school. Not me. I don't want to do it. And then I realized, yesterday I was on the phone with, I'm friends with one of my wife's friends. And she's really smart. And sometimes, like, she can't reach my wife or something. She just calls me and we hang out for a long talk. And she was like, I don't hear you being the least bit enthused about this change. I'm like, yeah, I'm not. I'm like, I don't want to do it. I'm not going to enjoy this writing. And there's no guarantee that it's not also going to go away with
Right.
ChatGPT. And she goes, but what do you do? She goes, I've read your writing. Chat can't replicate that. I'm like, most people don't know. I'm not going to be able to sell it. And even if I do sell it, I'm going to have to sell it for half of what I sell it just to make the sale. And she goes, why don't you just do what you want to do? And I'm like, it's hard for me to pull the trigger on that because it's hard for me to recognize doing speaking things like you and I used to do and writing books as an actual business. But she said, I think that's bullshit. She goes, I've seen you. She goes, you guys are good. She'd seen us at a library. And she goes, you guys are good. She goes, you're good. She goes, chat can't do this.
Yeah.
And it's like when I talk to you, it was like when chat can't do stand. And I had been talking about doing speaking gigs again finally. And she goes, you're excited about it? I'm like, yeah. She goes, why don't you just do that? I'm like, it's really hard to get paid. She goes, when? And I just realized that that's what I love to do.
Yeah.
and I'm good at it. And I think I'm going to do that instead.
Well, that's what my wife said, a version of the same thing when I started talking about retiring. I was like, well, I'm 55. I can't really, totally retire. So I applied for a couple jobs. I started looking at a couple of security jobs and stuff, just to do part-time, just do something. And she was like, no more of that. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I'm not going to work at a Walmart. She goes, no, you have all these hobbies. Try to make your hobbies pay.
Yeah.
I do radio. I do some writing. I do photography, and I do woodworking. She goes, try to figure out a way to make money doing that stuff.
I still think you should be a consultant.
Well, maybe, but I don't know. The thing is, too, is I'm going to let my beard grow,
Yeah.
Unless I lose a lot of weight, too many people care about appearance too much.
Yeah. And this brings us back to Jeremiah Creek. There's a whole idea, the nebulous idea that we still haven't completely nailed down yet behind Jeremiah Creek is it's guys our age that are at this very moment in their life. They're at this question.
And what do you do? What do you do now?
Yeah.
If you get laid off, but you have the ability to do something, or you retire, you have the ability to do something else. Yeah, it's like, and it's we're also the type of people that are willing to embrace technology. We don't care that everything has changed, and we can figure out how to use our cell phones to record video, or play with this stuff to come up with a way to speak. I would love to do speaking gigs more often. The pandemic killed us with that. We were doing pretty good up before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I was just talking about that today. I was like, I'm still doing this radio stuff. I don't get paid for this.
No.
Occasionally I get some stuff, I get free meals, but I don't get paid for it. Somebody said, well, why are you doing it? I go, we started doing it because we were promoting the talking stuff. We're starting to do pretty well, and then it just all fucking tanked. But so now I don't know. I'm doing it with the hope that when I retire, there's other things, because there's a lot of stuff that we would talk about that I am not allowed to talk about because of being a police officer.
Yeah.
And it was interesting during the campaign, some of the stuff that we would talk about offline, off the radio, and I would want to. I can talk about this because this is a suggestion. It's not a policy. But the idea, like Bob asked me a question. He was going to interview the two mayoral candidates, Paul Vallis, Brandon Johnson. And he goes, "Do you have any questions? Anything that?" And I said, one of my questions is everybody asks them about what are they going to do about police department? What are they going to do about getting officers back? And the responses are always Paul Vallis. Well, I can get the people who have left and who have retired to come back because if they had better leadership, No, he could. It would be some. There would be some. I know of a lot of people who have left who don't like where they went, who would like to come back if they could. But the police department, until very recently, like last week, had no way for somebody to return once they left. And that's not just the police department. That's the way the city bureaucracy worked. If you quit, start right at the bottom. You go to, and tests are not good. There was no way for anybody who left to say, you know what, maybe the grass wasn't all that greener, I'd like to come back. Even 2 weeks later.
You don't keep your seniority.
No. And right now, even if they let you back, you lose all your seniority. So
you should get recognition for your experience
somehow. And so his idea wasn't bad, but it wasn't a cure-all. It was just a way of starting the process. Brandon Johnson talks about promoting 200 detectives. We need 200 detectives. It's not a bad idea, but it doesn't correct the problem of how we get people to become police officers. Right. And none of them said anything about how do we going forward get young people to want to become police officers. Well, I wrote a plan for that years ago. And I've given it to every superintendent, and I've given it to every mayor since then, since Daley, I think. And there's nothing. And I ran the recruitment and marketing, so it's not like I'm speaking from the voice of ignorance. The plan I wrote up is a legit plan that could work with very little cost to the city. And they're not interested in hearing any ideas from anybody that's not in the in crowd. So So I sent the plan to Bob. I said, ask her about this. They both have it, and or at least I sent it to them, and so he asked a couple questions about it. But then he's like, this would be a great thing to just talk about as a whole segment. And I said, well, I don't mind. I mean, I even think that I could do it because I'm not discussing policy. I'm not discussing people that are in the police department.
Ideas.
I'm discussing an idea that I have to make things better. It's not in. But I said, on the other hand, they're very vindictive. So I'll wait till I get close to retirement because I don't really want to give anybody the opportunity to say that I overstepped what I'm allowed to go on there and talk about food.
Yeah.
If I start talking about policy, even if it's my own ideas for what we should do, why give anybody the opportunity to take that shot?
Yeah.
So we do talk about things like that for when I retire. Well, I could come on, but that would require payment at that point. So I don't know.
I think that we're looking at I was doing research this week for I'm writing a white paper for All American Whiskey, and it's about the upcoming generation of drinkers. There's a new generation of drinkers that are all turning 21 to 25.
Yeah.
And they're just different. The way that they approach alcohol, what they like is just different. And there's big changes because of that. It's not just in America, it's around the world, but I'm focused on America. And
what do you mean they approach alcohol differently, if you don't mind me interrupting you?
There's the trend, and this is based on data. This is not based on just talking about it, but these guys did a whole bunch of the big spirits consulting groups did surveys. And one of the things they found was one of the questions that they asked they didn't think was going to matter was about mindfulness and stuff. And that ended up being the most important thing that people responded to was a thing called thoughtful indulgence. And that they are people that are coming up are now concerned about your ecological footprint from a distillery. They're concerned about they are not frat boy drinkers. The new generation, they're just not
binge drinkers like?
They're not binge drinkers. They're not. They don't like just go out and get hammered. For them, it's more about finding something. Instead of getting a whole bunch of beers and getting hammered, they want to have a couple of really premium drinking experiences. They'd rather spend their money on a really good liquor, that's got like a story.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about the story, but I have noticed that when I talk to young people, and some of it seems to be like the throwback stuff. For some reason, is the old fashions taking off? Everybody seems to be talking.
Old fashions. I even started a newsletter about it. Old fashions are really the big drink of choice right now because one of the things this generation is looking for is a touchstone to authenticity, and they recognize that they live in a digital world, and they kind of don't really like it, and so what they want is a really good drinks like Negronis are a big deal, but old fashions are huge.
Right. All right. So it's and that's just me noticing it. I don't drink, so I notice what people are talking about.
Yep. And what they like is they want a premium bourbon or rye in it, and then they want all the other ingredients to also be really top shelf premium stuff with a history. And and so there's a bunch of different old fashioned recipes that are really popular, and most bars and stuff now have you'll find almost everywhere has like their own version of an old fashioned.
It seems different than 10 years ago, maybe, where like the Violet Hour would come up with these alchemist sort of drinks where
that stuff's still out there.
Yeah.
Pearl just opened, and
I saw that.
I can't wait to get in there. The Victor Bar, places like that. They're in Savannah, the Alley Cat. These are places that are premium bars. And so when you go in there, you're going to pay $20 for a drink, but that drink is going to kick your ass. It's going to be incredible. Not just delicious and strong, but also the bartender will be able to talk to you about it for like 45 minutes about all the shit that's in it. And that matters. The other thing is people are drinking at home more. And finally, there's this whole thoughtfulness thing. But one of the other things I realized from research associated with it is that we're about to hit a period where it's really going to be hard to find employees for anything. For anything. You see a lot of these businesses that are shutting down lately. The reason they're shutting down is they can't find anybody.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to work in an office anymore, and nobody wants to have a job that's crap. Nobody wants to do shitty work. Nobody wants to work in food service anymore. Forget it. Nobody wants that job. And a lot of people are not willing to settle and go to a job that sucks because they know they need the money. They're like, fuck you. I'd rather if I'm going to have a grind job, I'd rather do a remote job and work from home. You know.
Yeah.
I forget why I was bringing this up. Oh, so there's a lot of gaps out there. There's a lot of spots, empty spots in the employee landscape. And I think this is an opportunity for guys like us because a company doesn't have, they're not looking at exclusively at young people anymore because those people don't want to work for them.
Yeah.
Those people like us are like, yeah, I'll take that job. That sounds like fun. And go into the office, hang out, shit, yeah, I'll do that job.
That's what something my brother-in-law has done since he retired was to try these jobs that he's never been able to do before, but thought would be fun. So he did bartending school for a while. He did bartending for a while.
Is he a dealer now?
Did a dealer school and did that. Although that I think was a mistake because at a certain age and weight, being on your feet for 8 hours a day.
Yeah, no thanks, man.
But I think you may be right. Although I do notice that it's interesting. My daughter now is doing. She started off basically doing marketing for a building management company, and when I talked to her, when she's talking about her job, half of her job, it seems like, is not marketing to the public anymore. It's marketing to the employees. So, like, she just put together a beautiful newsletter for the company, just talking about, what's going on. And it included a recipe. It included a little thing about who had babies, whose birthdays it was, and it was it was like, it seems like they're making a very big effort to market the company to their own employees as well as to the public.
Because it's hard to keep them.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep them engaged. It's hard to keep them on board. And you got to constantly make sure that they're happy.
And it reminds me, even, everything to me is, because it's the end of my career, but it's been a long career of police work. There has been a real dearth of esprit de corps. When I got out of the Marine Corps, you have a military mindset. You're living with guys. You're working every day. You know each other. You know who you're dating, and you're there, even if you're a ball buster, to support each other and back each other up. That translated into the police department because when I came on, most of the people came out of the military to become police officers.
Your crew.
Yeah. And and my dad even said, even when I started, it had gotten worse because prior to me becoming a police officer, they had rotating watches. So 1 month you'd be on midnights, 1 month you'd be on days, 1 month you'd be on afternoons, and you would rotate with your crew.
Yeah.
And so you got to know each other, you got to spend time with each other. That all changed when we went to straight shifts because now you're only there 8 hours a day. You have your own family to deal with. You have other things, and it sort of started falling down. To me, we still had that, but as the years have gone on, that you've gotten real far away from that. Partially because none of the bosses would promote it. When I was a kid, we went to a barbecue every year for my dad's district.
Yeah.
We don't have those anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean, part of it's because you'd have a bunch of people drinking, and the minute somebody does something stupid, then it reflects on everybody, and then the bosses get fired, and it's like a whole. It's like there's you're walking the tightrope much more. If you make a mistake, it's not a question of you getting suspended for a few days. It's a question of you losing your job.
It's going to be a camera.
Right.
I think that's an important thing to consider, and I think that I think there's a lot of guys out there, and I got to talk about guys because I don't know if it applies to women as much, but there's a lot of guys out there in the workforce, particularly remote guys, that are really isolated from their community.
Yeah.
And they don't have an esprit de corps because they don't have a crew of any kind.
Right.
You know? And these are guys that, you know, a lot of their friendships are already online, and now their job's online. You know, now they don't. My son didn't leave the house for 6 months.
Right.
Because he would work online all day, and then he would play online in the evening with his friends who lived like a mile away. But they would visit each other online and play a game together. You know, their esprit de corps is in the gaming community.
Right.
And you know, and my question is there an opportunity for guys our age who know about that, who know the easy and simple ways to build rapport among employees? Is there a spot for us to help bring that back?
Well, I don't know, but it does seem like businesses are at least being forced back into trying to build that, as opposed to, I mean, I think a lot of it, the pendulum swung the other way, and a lot of it had to do with bosses and with corporations not really considering. I used to make this comment about Mayor Lightfoot. People used to say, "Oh, she hates the police." I go, she doesn't hate the police. She doesn't care about us one way or the other. We're nothing more than a line on an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
She doesn't see us as people. She doesn't see us as part of a team. She sees us as a liability that has to be controlled, and you know, or a cost. And you have to measure your cost benefit based on what you're getting for this cost. And I think now this pandemic has forced people to start looking, or forced bosses and corporations to start looking at people going, if we want to keep people, if we want to keep our company, we're going to have to stop looking at people as just another liability or cost, you know, and start looking at it as we have to build up the benefits as well as reduce the cost. So. Do you think there's an opportunity for old school guys to come in and help out companies? Well, I do. I mean, I don't know. It's the same thing. Well, we've been doing this for 20 years, right? We've never broken through because I think we don't know the technique or whatever it is. Like you can sit there and you can teach a class on the actual how to write and how to submit your stories. There's a framework for it. I don't know if we know the framework. I don't know if we'd have to build a framework at this point, because I don't know. Anybody who wants to do. I would assume you're thinking like consulting work and how to build that, or you know, and how to build a team building. And team building, I mean, they started doing it back in the 2000s, where they started doing these bullshit team building exercises where you trust falls and lifting a pole.
That doesn't work. That's not what it's about. You know, the thing is that you can't impose it on people.
Right.
What you have to do is you have to create a space where it can happen naturally.
You got to figure out a way to make people care about each other, not just trust that they're going
to do that is to have them together more often. That's just the truth. They need to bump into each other in real life.
Yeah, and not only having to do with a meeting at work.
Yeah, meetings are shit.
Yeah, I mean,
it's got to be stuff like a barbecue and like a dinner and like
exactly.
And it's got to be completely just unstructured and just there to have fun.
Yeah, and that, like I said, that's part of what my daughter does now. I mean, probably half of what she does.
Good for her.
And you know, another thing too is the one thing that this pandemic has shown, and I think it's gone too far, is the idea that dispersing your workforce. Now, we've dispersed workforces to people's houses and isolated them. But I think that companies, and my wife and my daughter's company has kind of started doing this, where you're instead of there's a middle ground between gathering people in one office where everybody's crawling all over each other to get stuff done and having meetings, and isolating in your own home, where you can have smaller offices, and then you're building smaller teams, but those teams then can work together. You know what I mean? So maybe instead of saying, all right, we want people to come back into the main office 3 or 4 days a week, have an office where you have 5 or 6 people, or you know, or at least you can go there and have 5 or 6 people working at the same time, or 10, same time. And you have office managers at these places. So instead of having 200 people in one place, you have 20 people in 20 places.
You know, another thing that is
10
beginning
places.
to take off is it used to be called a third place, right? So you had your work, you had your home, and you had another place where you might go and work remotely. You know, and so it'd be a Starbucks or a club, you know. And I got a friend who just joined the Union League downtown, and a couple of times he said, "Hey, come on by, let's hang out." And we would go there, and I mean, this thing's been there since 1911. It's got that old school elegance, charm, you know, big rooms, big fireplaces, white glove service, that kind of shit. And but most of the people that are there during the day are there so they can work around other people.
Yeah.
They don't work for the same company. They just like working around other people, you know. And they stop at the midday and they go get a sandwich together and have a drink and stuff. They're not even in the same field. Not much less in the same field.
Well, think of a place like this. I mean, we're at Rocky Patel Cigar Store. It's got an actual cigar store, but then we're in the lounge where you have all these easy chairs, you have TVs, computers. I mean, what if you had a day where you could say, all right, well, you know, we want everybody to come here. I mean, you know, it'd have to be a business where mostly men's cigars.
Well, I mean, yeah, it'd have to be people that like to smoke cigars.
Yeah.
But you know what? I mean, yeah.
Or a coffee shop or something like that.
The thing is, and I get back to you and I were talking about men because that's who we are, right? It's really important. I mean, one of the things that I'm learning from this research that I'm doing I just finished a huge article about, it's coming out this week, and it's about how people are leaving big cities to go work in small towns because they're working remotely, and why should I pay $3,000 a month rent when I could live in a small town and pay half that and have everything I need? And I have this beautiful small town that I'm in instead of the downtown. And I'm saving so much money. And I did all this research and everything. One of the things I found is that the work at home thing is not going away.
Yeah.
It's people are like, hey, we're returning our office. No, you're not. A small amount of people are returning to the offices, and we're about to see all that change too, because these companies are finally going to say, you know, we just can't afford to be done. They're going to close up. And one of the things that is a result of this is young men. I mean, between 25 and 40, right? They're becoming increasingly isolated, and one of the things they're trying to do to fix that is they're looking for crews to belong to. They're looking for things they can do to bring them into contact with other dudes. You know, and they need it desperately. They need it so much because you can't be a fully functioning person and just remain isolated all the time.
Right.
It's bad for you, you know, but also it's just not pleasant. You know, you need friendships, and you need the casual associate friendships of the people you work with. You know, I mean, you can't have all best friends. You know, you need like a crew that's kind of like a mix. You know, and they just a lot of that out there for guys.
What I was thinking about though was like for the cigar store analogy I was using is not so much that this is a cigar store, but it's the way that this is designed.
Yeah.
So you could have, if you had a Starbucks that was designed where you had the regular Starbucks over there, and then you had a separate, place where you can go drink coffee, then they could maybe rent that out. So one day a week or whatever, it'd be like people from Kagan Management will actually come here, or one day every month, they will come here and they will work out of here, and the company will pay for the coffee, and they can have snacks, whatever, and they would basically say, okay, if you can't use that area over there. This is all reserved for these people for this, and then it's a win-win for the, say, coffee shop or cigar store, because they're making a little bit of money on that, and people are going to buy stuff even if the company pays for the coffee. But like if they did it here, people would buy two cigars during the day while they work.
That is happening to a degree. There are companies there are rental companies that rent office space that's unused in buildings, and there's companies that own the entire, as if they were a corporation, but they only own the space. They don't actually have a business there, and they rent that space out, and it's all fully functional. You can go there and rent like a tiny little office for $100 a day, and work from there, you and somebody else, and then you also have there's secretaries there, and there's Xerox machines and your Wi-Fi and everything, and a coffee hutch and like a little grill, as if it was a company that you work at.
Yeah.
That's definitely happening. But I think the team building stuff is important. I don't think trust falls and stuff like that do it. I don't think they do it at all.
No.
That's all bullshit.
Yeah. The idea would be to go someplace where you're actually, and also you're pulling your workforce out to do all that stuff. You're sending them to a class. You're not getting any work done, and they're not taking it seriously because it doesn't seem like it's realistic. What you would want to do is have a place where you can actually go get some work done in a convivial atmosphere. You
At
know.
the end of the day, have a speaker or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, have some sort of hands-on. It's the other thing people want is they want like educational stuff to happen to them. So they would dig something like that if at the end of the day it was a dinner that everyone participated in. You all learned how to scout game or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you got to eat it. They would be totally down for that shit.
Yeah.
You know?
We should start a business where we do that.
Yeah, you're talking to like a.
Yeah.
If I knew how to do business stuff, I'd already have one.
All right. Well, I think we're at the end here. We've exceeded an hour, believe it or not.
Because I have to go to the bathroom.
All right. So, well, thank you for joining us. I'm going to switch this transition back to our logo on YouTube, so we end on the logo, and I'm going to end the speaker. So, thank you for joining us on the Beat Cops on Jeremiah Creek. I knew I couldn't get to the front. Jeremiah Creek. All right.